Now, with von der Leyen accused of war mongering over Ukraine while also facing pressure to show strategic autonomy, can Europe balance transatlantic loyalty and self-reliance without fracturing further?
Uh, good afternoon. I don't think so. There's a concatenation of problems that the EU faces and the Commission faces, and possibly the most fundamental is the one that you outline. What is the solution to a desire for EU strategic autonomy with the reality of the dependence of the United States? And I think what von der Leyen and the EU establishment is seeking to do is buy time to resolve these issues and to boost EU defense expenditure, EU defense capacity. And so it will be in a better position to negotiate with the Americans, but not now, but after a certain time.
Mm-hmm. Well, does this dual no-confidence challenge signal a weakening of European Union unity just when NATO needs a strong, coherent European partner amid the rising global tensions?
Well, there are two votes of no confidence,
Mm-hmm.
one on the right, one on the left, and these are being debated possibly as we speak. It's the edges of getting frayed in a European consensus, and only over the weekend, the Czechs voted for a populist leader who is going to add to the woes of the Commission by challenging the Ukraine policy, by challenging their green policy, and so on. So yes, there is a fraying of consensus, and while the states are, the EU member states are relatively in consensus over the Ukraine war, for example, the populations are steadily realizing that this is going to cost money and that it's going to cost them in their pockets. And there are problems in all economic problems in all EU countries.
Mm-hmm. Well, given von der Leyen's close alignment with the Trump administration on trade and security, is she strengthening or undermining Europe's long-term strategic sovereignty?
Well, as I said, I think what she's doing and what the European establishment is doing, even the UK, is trying to buy time. They have been plunged into a crisis of autonomy, a crisis of the possibility that the United States will abandon them in their key security concern, which is defense against Russia. And so in order to reorganize and think through what the absence of America will do, they need time. So what von der Leyen and many of the politicians are doing is trying to appease Trump and placate Trump by increasing defense expenditure, while surreptitiously trying to advance European autonomy, basically through means of building up European defense industries.
Yes, well, keeping in mind these security concerns and the stance regarding Russia, do you feel that the erosion of the EU's political center would embolden the adversaries like Russia or China by exposing the institutional fragility at such critical geopolitical moment?
Well, I think the Russians and the Chinese understood understand full well how weak the EU is. The war in Ukraine uh, uh, is essentially a war which Russia has undertaken with the aim of undermining the EU and NATO dominance in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Russians are quietly satisfied with what's going on politically in Europe, but they don't want to um, expose their satisfaction. They want to concentrate on Ukraine, but they don't want to expose their satisfaction about the turn, populist turn that the Europeans are experiencing, because they don't want a counter reaction. Russia, despite everything, despite the populist rhetoric, is an object of suspicion in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Generally.
Well, the no confidence votes are coming from the far right and the far left. Now, if the centrist coalitions keep shielding von der Leyen despite the growing discontent, are we witnessing the normalization of crisis management over democratic accountability in Brussels?
Well, it only takes 10% of the 720 European Parliament members, 10% to trigger a no confidence vote. But in order to succeed in a no confidence vote, you have to have 2/3 of the Parliament's members. And so, yes, if the left or the right trigger once a month or once every 2 months a no confidence motion, then yes, you were right. It will feed through into instability in the institutions. But the big problem for the Commission is these trade deals with the United States that are generally considered to be a humiliation for Europe. And I think von der Leyen has to address that before she can settle the Parliament to say, no, Europe is not being humiliated. We know what we are doing, even though the appearance is that she doesn't know what she's doing.
Well, what about the Pfizer file? Now, how does von der Leyen's refusal to disclose Pfizer correspondence and the repeated transparency failures undermine the legal legitimacy of European Union institutions?
Well, the court case, which the journalist who requested some correspondence, WhatsApp correspondence, I believe, ruled in favor of the journalist. And that's also an indication that that von der Leyen's commission is arrogant and unaccountable. And this is why the UK, many people in the UK voted for Brexit, because they couldn't see any accountability in the Commission. And I think this British idea of unaccountability has permeated through very many EU countries at the present.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Williams, can the European Union uphold its values abroad, like on Gaza, while facing internal censure for perceived double standards and policy abandonment?
Well, the EU is a complicated organization. It has many strands of activity, and the Commission and the European Council, the EEAS, keeps on going and working, irrespective of maybe a general perception that it does have strategic problems and internal coherence problems. It will keep going. But the problem is, as you indicated, the general public, both within the EU and the observers outside the EU, will quickly or realize in this situation that the EU is a fundamentally weak and ineffective organization when it comes to defending and promoting its values, because the values concerned are harshly in contradiction with the reality, as you say, in the Middle East or in Russia itself, yes. Russia and Ukraine itself.
Mr. Williams, with both far-right and far-left groups citing democratic deficit, is the Commission's centralized power structure now legally and politically unsustainable? I mean, does the ease of triggering no-confidence votes, despite their symbolic nature, reveal a deeper flaw in European Union parliamentary oversight mechanisms?
Yes, I wouldn't go as far to say it's the EU is legally undermined, because it's a treaty-based organization and the institutions of the EU are obsessed with following to the letter what these treaties and rules and laws indicate. But the Parliament is a weak organization, only has limited powers, and one of its powers is to vote against the Commission if it has sufficient votes to in a vote of confidence. And I think the EU has always been democratically unaccountable, because its politicians, leaders, meet and decide among themselves, according to the proposals, what they're going to do, and then tell their nations and their parliaments what they've decided. And so there is a fundamental problem: is the accountability through the Commission and the Council, or is it through national parliaments, which are fundamentally more in touch with